So hello and welcome back to Tycoon Terminal. I'm Steve and here we are back in Leekington Lakes, and today I am going to theme up this Rapids ride which we built in the last episode. And to be fair, I think it's looking rather good with the terrain interaction, and I've added a few drops and whatnot. I think it's actually coming along quite nicely, so I'm not going to go too much to town on this one. It's going to be very lightly themed, as this is more like a filler attraction that we're putting in rather than one of our main attractions. So I'm just putting in like some of the access walkways. Now these would be important for the engineers to be able to work on the attraction and also be able to access the components of the ride. So like the conveyor rollers and lift motors for the conveyor belts that take the boats back to the top. You'd also have the pump space down here, which I haven't actually put in the game, but you'd have like pump space at the bottom of the ride to pump the water back up to the top, which you will see. When you go to many of these theme parks, particularly if you go to towers or anywhere with rapids rides, you'll see the big pumps there that are pumping the water back up to the top of the attraction. So the walkways were a little bit fiddly to put in, took a little bit longer than I expected, but I think overall you get the feel of it quite nicely, like the handrails, and I know it's a little bit more industrial than the theme. Normally you'd be going for the Viking theme, it'd be wood and whatnot, but obviously wood and water, and yeah, probably not a good mix, so that's why I've gone for like a metal framework there. So with the Viking theme, it's quite a good, actually no, before we go into the Viking theme, I actually added the shield into the middle of the boat, which I think is fantastic, because it just adds a little bit of immersion to say it is a Viking theme, and I've not really played around with adding theming to the vehicles yet, so even though it's a simple thing, it's just me trying to get used to how it works. So I actually did it by accident. I was trying to build on the building and it made me want to attach it to the boat, and I thought, you know what, let's give it a go and see what we can add in. The overall structure, very simple. I don't really like how the queue entrances don't line up with the building structure walls anymore. Like I know in Planet Coaster 1 it used to kind of try and guide you, so if you put in a corner archway, your queue would be centralized. It didn't always work, but it's a lot better than it was in Planet Coaster 2, whereas now it seems like near impossible to get your queue lines aligned to where you want to like put your structures. I thought it'd be quite cool to have these statues holding like a support beam of the building going across, so I just kind of added that for a bit of fun. It's not perfect, just kind of chucked it in there as a spot, why not? With the building, I know we've got used the curved roofs a lot in the Viking area, so I thought it'd be quite nice to put in some of these more pointed angular roofs. I think it's made a big difference to the overall feel of the land. This is raised up on a hill, and we've used the terrain to our advantage. So we're using the terrain to dig out the trough, essentially. So I don't really like the Rapids ride sticking out above the ground too much, and I just thought it'd be nice to sink it into the ground. So I was trying to get like a bit of an immersive queue line where people, while waiting or walking to the ride, can see the boats travelling underneath. I think that is something I really like about water rides, particularly with ones being like Infinity Falls at SeaWorld, and even Rumba Rapids at Fort Park. They you go over the boats, and you can see like the boats coming through, and I just wanted that kind of feeling so people can see like the ride. It is a little bit hidden away, you can't see much of it from the rest of the park due to its location on the edge of the map. I wanted to add a little bit of a workshop here, so I've added in like a crane device so the boats can be craned off and taken into the workshop if needed, straight from the lift hill. I thought that'd be probably the best place to kind of add that on one of these attractions. You normally see like a crane at the bottom of the lift hills on these types of attractions to take the boats off, although they don't normally have a large workshop there. It's normally just a work outside job with those. But I like to look after the engineers, so we'll have a proper little workshop for them to keep all the spare bits and everything down at the ride, so they don't have to travel too far. With the queue line, I just wanted to make a little bit of a bridge over the water ride, just something a little bit more than a concrete plinth. And I'm trying to remove as much of like the concrete queue line elevation beams, because I don't really think they look that great. I was going to add a waterfall, but it just didn't really fit the theme. Well, it didn't really fit the area, and I kind of looked at it and it looked a bit naff, so I just took it out and thought I'll put some trees and bushes in there. But we do something with waterfalls a little bit later on, which I really like. So it's I was going to do a bit more with rocks as well, but again, I couldn't really get them to look good, so I decided, you know what, let's just spam the land with rhododendrons. And to be fair, they do actually look quite good. When you go zoom in onto a closer level, it's not too bad, so yeah. The building the bridges is like, once I built the first one, it's quite easy because you can use the second, or you can use the if you press I and then hold shift, you can kind of select parts of another building. Just makes it really quick to build like the second bridge. It took me half the amount of time as the first bridge, just because I could copy it essentially and use bits, and I really like that about Planet Coaster 2 particularly. It does make that a little bit easier. Just wanted to add a few extra structures in to kind of just enhance that Viking theme. And the boat, the idea was that the boat, you see the boat kind of come in and then you dip down into a little drop, and this is where I'm kind of adding my water effects and a bit of a tunnel here. I did want to add a bit of a tunnel where we go underneath the upper level of the water ride, and this is where I start adding some waterfalls. So I added in 2 waterfalls here, the top and the middle, and I think they look absolutely fantastic when you're on the ride. And you know, if you're going on the Rapids ride, you want to get a bit wet, so I thought, let's add some waterfalls. And this is kind of very reminiscent of the Rapids Alton Towers, where you have the waterfalls over the side of the rock, where you kind of go through the boat, and yeah, it just looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Where, you know, you've got the waterfalls and the water piling in. I did notice like the land looked a little bit bare around, so I just thought, you know what, just spend a few minutes just adding trees in, just to kind of hide some of that kind of barren land away, which I think I did. Although I did discover later on that because my station building isn't 7 miles long, I can only have 2 boats on this. The queues are going to be crazy. I'm not going to remove it. I've built it and I've already got to this point of it being very much established in the park, so I'm not going to start removing the attraction. But I was so upset when I only had 2 boats on it. It's like the lowest capacity rapids ride in the world, which is not what we want at this park, as we know we do get the crowds. So yeah, it's coming along rather nicely. Let's jump in and take a ride. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.